Hi, I'm Denise Irvin. I'm the worker manager here at the Fashion Arts Collective, and I am going to be working on a craft project with you. We are going to be making these little stocking caps, and you will be learning how to do some felt applique and sewing buttons on, and we'll end up with a little stocking cap like that. Supplies that you're going to get in your kit is you're going to get a tube of knit fabric, striped knit fabric, and that's going to be the base of your hat. You're going to get some felt squares in different colors that you're going to cut your appliques out with. You're going to get a few buttons that you can sew onto your hat. You're going to get a little packet of embroidery floss or embroidery thread, and that's what you'll be using to sew the appliques onto the cap. You'll be getting a piece of ribbon, and that's what you'll use to tie at the top of the cap to form the little tassel on the top of your hat. And you'll be getting a needle, which will be in with your embroidery floss, and then a little needle threader, because this is kind of hard to thread through the eye of the needle. And the other thing that you're going to be getting is a little template for the flowers that you're going to be appliquing on. The first step that you're going to do is you're going to get this tube of fabric, and it's going to be sewn on one end. There's going to be a folded edge. So what you want to do is take and turn up that folded edge 2 inches, and that's going to form the little cuff for the bottom part of your beanie. So you're going to turn that up 2 inches. The next step is you're going to be making your appliques out of your felt. So you're going to get a template, and it's going to have all different kind of leaves and flowers and a little heart pattern on there. You can be as creative as you want with this. You can mix colors, you can do it whatever way you want, but this is just a little template to follow in order to cut your appliques. So the first thing you're going to do is cut these out, and you want to make sure that you use paper scissors when you're cutting this paper out. You don't want to use your mom's good fabric scissors on this. So we're going to cut out these templates. This is what we'll use to trace around and make our appliques on the felt squares. Okay, so the next step is you're going to have all your little templates cut out, and you're going to take your little felt squares and you're going to trace around the template onto the felt square. It might be easiest to use a pen because a pencil is kind of hard to trace around on this felt. And you can mix and match your colors, mix and match your sizes. Like I said, be really creative with what you're going to do with your little templates. So I'm going to trace around these. And then you're going to cut these out of the felt. And you'll end up with 4 or 5 different flowers and some leaves. There's a little heart pattern in there you can use. Okay, so now we've got our appliques all ready to go, and you can see I cut out 2 different sizes so I can place one on top of the other and make kind of a dimensional flower. You're going to take your cap, and now we're going to start to sew the appliques onto the cap. You are going to get a little packet of what's called embroidery floss in all different colors. And you're also going to get an embroidery needle that's got a big eye in the end of it, and a needle threader, which will make it a little bit easier for you to thread this needle. But the first thing you need to do when you get your embroidery floss is to split it into 2 sections, because it's going to be way too thick to go through the eye of the needle. So you don't want your sections to be super long. So I'm going to cut my blue thread in half, and then you'll see that this embroidery thread is 6 strands all kind of woven together. So I'm going to pull this apart 3 strands and 3 strands, and I'm just going to pull it apart, and so I'm going to end up with 2 strands of this embroidery floss, and each one will be 3 sections kind of spun together, and that'll make it a little easier to go through the eye of your needle. Now you're going to get this little needle threader, and the way that you use this is to take the needle threader, put it through the eye of your needle, pull the embroidery floss through this little loop on the needle threader, and then I'm going to pull it through my needle, and then that will help you to thread the needle a lot easier. Then on one end of it you want to tie a little knot. got my needle threaded and I'm ready to start doing my stitching. Okay, so then the next step is we're going to sew these little appliques onto our cap. You'll have your cuff folded up, but we're going to sew all the way through so that it holds the cuff up. The first stitch I'm going to show you is called a blanket stitch. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up from the bottom of the cap all the way through the cuff and all the way up through your felt. Then you're going to go back down into the felt and again all the way through your cap. But when you bring your needle up, I'm going to come up right along the edge of this felt right here. And when I come up, I want to make sure that this thread is looped under the needle and it will catch it and make a little blanket stitch. So the next stitch I'm going to do, I'm going to go in through the felt about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, make sure it's going all the way through. I'm going to come up right at the edge of this felt, make sure the thread's underneath and pull it through. And you'll see as you go, it's making like a little kind of a, it's called a blanket stitch and it's kind of catching it. And you can do that all the way around the whole flower. Okay, the next stitch I'm going to show you is called a straight stitch or a running stitch. So again, you want to have your needle threaded with the embroidery floss with a knot at the end. Again, I'm going to start from the bottom of the cap. I'm going to come all the way up through the felt. And basically you're just going to go back down into the edge of your flower. Pull it down, and then I'm going to come back up all the way through the layers about another 1/4 of an inch. You want to make your stitches about a 1/4 of an inch long. Basically all you're doing is going down and then back up again. Down all the way through and then back up again. End up with a little running stitch. The next stitch I'm going to demonstrate is called a whip stitch, and again you're going to have your needle threaded. You always want to start from the underneath, from the bottom, and bring your needle up all the way through the layers. And then this stitch is just going to go, instead of going straight around like I did on the running stitch, I'm going to overcast it over the edge of the felt. So I'm going to go down over the felt and then come back up through the felt. And then over the felt again. So you're going down and up, but it's making a little stitch that's kind of whip stitched around the edge of your applique. Alright, so once you have your first flower on, stitched all the way around, you want to take a smaller flower and lay it on top, and I usually kind of offset it so the petals are going in like different directions. And I'm just going to sew this on top. Again, I'm going to go all the way through the layers to hold this second layer flower on top, and I'm just doing a running stitch around this one. Okay, so then once you have your 2 flowers sewn on top of each other, then what I want to do is take a button, and I like to use like even just a different color contrast to make it kind of cute. I'm going to put my button on top, and then I'm going to sew this button on all the way through the layers. So again, I'm going to start from the bottom, and I'm going to come up through one of the holes, and I'm going to go back down into one of the holes, and you only need to sew through each hole a couple of times. The more times you sew through the hole, the more the color of the thread will show up. So I'm going to do it 3 times. Up and then down. And then I'm going to go through the other 2 holes 3 times. Have a cute little applique on your hat. And you can put as many of these on as you want. So once you have all your appliques on your hat, basically all you're going to do is want to tie the top of it. So you want to take that pink ribbon that's in your kit and you're going to kind of bunch up the top of the cap. And then I'm just going to take my ribbon, and you might want to have somebody help you with this so they can kind of hold it when you're tying the bow. I'm just going to take the edge of the ribbon, I'm going to tie it in a really tight knot. And then I'm just going to tie a little bow in it. And then the ribbon's going to be kind of long, so I'm just going to cut it off so it's shorter. And then we'll have your little cap. So now you have your cap, and I hope you have fun with this little project. Thanks for joining us, and visit us at fashionartscollective.org.